Laws that help consumers by Elizabeth Hernandez, FCS 302. When being uninformed, you lose money without even knowing. Some people just pay for whatever they want, but they don't get good quality products. If we are not aware of consumer laws, then how can we fight back when we get poor quality in the marketplace? Sellers want to sell because that's their job, but us as consumers, we need to be aware on federal, state, and local laws and regulations that protect us as consumers. This presentation will go over some laws that we need to be aware of. Laws on sales transactions. Unsolicited mail law went into effect in 2004, where the junk email is sent automatically to spam. If you notice when you go to your email, there are a few different folders and one of them is a spam folder. Emails that are considered junk mail are sent to that folder. Sometimes even other emails that might be important to you are also sent to that folder. That's why it is good to always check that spam folder as well, just to make sure you don't miss on an important email. Telemarketers have laws that they have to follow before sales. General attorneys now have the power to prosecute fraudulent telemarketers who operate across the state lines. They now sue in federal courts. Fines are $11,000 per violation, and consumers receive restoration of what they have lost. Caller ID on your home phone. Now, most people use cell phones, and I have noticed cell phones say most likely to be a scam when they get a different number registered in an incoming call. Do not call registry. Registration for consumers that gives the chance to avoid receiving most telemarketing calls. Call toll-free number 1-888-382-1222 or register online at www.donotcall.gov. This registration is good for 5 years. Consumer may still receive telemarketing calls from companies with whom they have an established business relationship, such as a creditor, bank, or telephone company where one has an account. Since the FTC does not have regulatory authority over banks, telephone companies, airlines, insurance companies, credit unions, charities, political campaigns, and political fundraisers, these groups are exempt from the Do Not Call regulations. However, people can make a specific request to any company not to call. Some rules of telemarketers must follow are: 1. Calling times are restricted to hours between 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. 2. Recorded sales pitches to consumers' homes are prohibited unless the consumer gives permission or has a business relationship with the company. 3. Before they make their sales pitch, telemarketers must promptly tell you that it is a sales call, provide the name of the seller, and tell you what they are selling. 4. If the pitch is for a sweepstakes or a price promotion, they must tell you how to enter the contents, that no purchase of payment is necessary to enter or win, and the odds of winning. 5. It is illegal for telemarketers to lie or mispresent any information. Before you pay, the telemarketers must follow you the total of the cost of the goods or services, as well as any restrictions on getting or using them, or that a sale is final and non-refundable. The last telemarketer rule that they must follow is: before taking money from your bank account, they must tell you their plans to access your account, and they must use one of the 3 ways to obtain authorization. A. Receive written authorization. B. Record your authorization. Or C. Send you a written confirmation before debiting your bank account. If they record your voice, you must receive the following information: date of the demand draft, the amount, the payer's name, the number of drafts, and a telephone number that you can call during normal business hours, and the date that you are giving your oral authorization. Unordered merchandise regulations of the Postal Service. This regulations allows you to keep the merchandise that you got delivered even if you didn't order it. They say, take it as a gift. Of course, you cannot keep something like a video cassette recorder inadvertently mailed to your home. You should write or call when such a legitimate shipping error occurs and return it to the providing them pay all costs involved. If you are sure that merchandise was never ordered, write the sender that you are keeping it as a free gift. You may want to send the letter by certified mail and keep the return receipt as a copy of the letter. Say you are sending a copy of your letter to the Office of Consumer Affairs and do so. Cash on delivery allows consumers to pay charges with the check. The check has to be made out to the seller instead of the Postal Service. This option enables consumers who are dissatisfied with mail order merchandise to stop payment on a check before it is cashed. Then the buyer will only be out of the bank fee for stopping payment on the check. When you order something in the mail and you want to return it, you must read to see if there is a certain amount of time to return the merchandise, and if there is not, then you need to return it before 30 days. There is also a FTC door-to-door sales cooling off period regulations. Purchasing goods and services from door-to-door salesperson may be convenient and appear to be inexpensive, but some tremendous risks exist because the seller has you as a disadvantage. First, it is much harder to ask someone to leave your home than to walk out of the retail store. Second, most door-to-door sales are conducted by sellers who are not located in your community and often are from out of state. Third, because the sellers may have no permanent place or of business, there is a substantial risk of you being cheated. Fourth, once you have given up your money, you may never receive the product, or the quality or the quantity of the product may be such less than you expected. As a result, should you need to complain later, it will be difficult and perhaps impossible to receive satisfaction. Vehicle leasing. This act was effective in 1997. 7 disclosures are: total gross capitalized cost of the lease, analogous to the total sales price. 2. Capitalized cost reduction, analogous to the down payment. 3. How scheduled payments were calculated, including the value of the vehicle at the start of the lease as well as its residual value. Dealer's estimate of the worth of the vehicle at the end of the lease. 3. The total amount due at lease signing. 4. Early termination penalties. 5. Various estimated charges. Financing, taxes, insurance, registration, excessive wear and tear, and acquisition fee. 6. Depreciation. And 7. Option price. What you can buy the vehicle for at the end of the lease. The rent charge, sometimes called the lease rate, is also provided, and this is the dollar amount one really pays for a leased vehicle. This information has to be provided in the paperwork when you are leasing a vehicle. This helps us be more informed. Airline travel rights. When you purchase a ticket and the price then lowers, some airlines do match the new price. If you are late, the airline has the right to cancel your reservation so your money is lost. If your flight is delayed or canceled because of the airline, then they are responsible for refunding and placing you on the next available flight. Bumping occurs because airlines know that not all the passengers show up. There is voluntary bumping and involuntary bumping. Those who elect to be voluntarily bumped usually receive a voucher for a free domestic road trip ticket worth $300. Sometimes some cash, experience a few-hour delay at the airport, and continue to their destination on a later flight. The Department of Transportation has rules for involuntary bumping. Should you be involved in involuntary bumped, you are not entitled to reimbursement when the airline is able to get to your destination by means of any airline within 1 hour of your scheduled arrival time. If you arrive at your destination between 1 and 2 hours late, the airline must pay you an amount equal to your one-way fare up to $200. Passengers have the right to accept a travel voucher or a check. If you are more than 2 hours late, the airline must pay you twice the amount of the value of the ticket, up to $400. When delayed luggage happens, most airlines will make arrangements to deliver it to you as soon as possible. If luggage is lost, then most airlines have a maximum liability of $1,250 on domestic flights and $1,850 on international flights. Airlines do not accept any liability for laptops or jewelry, cash, antiques, and similar valuables. Rent to own. The contract must include the price of the item, the price of the rental option, the total price combining both prices, and it cannot be more than 100% greater than the cash price. This information must be attached to each displayed item. Amounts assessed for late charges are limited, and consumers are allowed to buy the rented item at any time for the cash price less one-half the total of previous payment. If advertising mentions the possibility of ownership, the total cost of the option must be given. Privacy laws. When sharing private information, the third party, they have to ask for your permission to share your information. You have the right to deny the permission. Internet service providers can give out your permission without your consent. The U.S. has a number of narrow states on privacy. These include Privacy Act, 1974, Federal Trade Commission Act, 1914, Federal Credit Reporting Act, which was found in 1970, Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, Public Laws, 1974, Cable Commission Policy Act, 1984, Cable Privacy Protection Act, 1984, Electronic Communications Privacy Act, 1986, Computer Matching and Privacy Protection Act, 1988, Tax Reform Act in 1976, the Right to Financial Privacy Act in 1978, Video Privacy Protection Act in 1988, Telephone Consumer Protection Act in 1991, Driver's Privacy Protection Act in 1994, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act in 1996, Children's Online Privacy Protection Act in 1998, Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act in 1999, Fair and Accurate Credit Transactions Act in 2003. Each privacy law typically covers the collectors. Use the disclosure, quality, and security of personal information. Laws on vehicles. Odometer fraud law required that odometer reading has to be written in the vehicle's title. Motor vehicle buyer's order laws, meaning that the sale of the car is not financed unless the contract is approved and all terms are agreed by buyer. Used vehicle limit laws required that the vehicle has limited warranty for engines, transmission, steering mechanism, and brakes. Those limit laws are designed to offer improved warranty protection to consumers. All states have limit laws, and such authorities have been upheld by the protection to consumers and by the U.S. Supreme Court. Vehicles with safety-related limit problems also should be reported to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. The limit owner would like to return the car and get it or his money back, or get a replacement vehicle because the problem is major and has reduced the use, safety, or value of the vehicle. This procedure is called revocation of acceptance. It is instigated by returning the vehicle to the dealer and writing a letter to the dealership specifying why this action is being taken.
Federal Trade Commission Used Car Rule. This rule requires all used car dealers to place some information outside of the car window, which is called a buyer's guide. This buyer guide includes if the vehicle comes with warranty and what warranty is provided, whether the vehicle comes with warranty or if it's sold as is, the option to get the car inspected by your mechanic before you buy it, that you get all promises in writing, some of the major problems that can occur to the vehicle. Always ask for a buyer's guide and read the guide before you decide to purchase the vehicle so that you know what your rights as a buyer. Dealers are required to post the buyer's guide on all used vehicles, including used automobiles, lightly duty vans, and light duty trucks. A used vehicle is one that has more than been driven the distance necessary to deliver a new vehicle to the dealership or to test drive it. Therefore, demonstrator cars are covered by the rule. Motorcycles are excluded. If you buy a used car from a private individual, for example, through a classified newspaper ad, the sale is not covered by the rule. Private sellers do not have to use the buyer's guide. In most private sales, the car is sold as is. Without a written contract with the specific repair provisions, the private seller is not responsible for what happens to the car after you buy it. If you have a written contract, the seller must live up to the promises stated in the contract. Depending on its age, the car may be covered by a manufacturing warranty or service contract. Ask the dealer to let you examine any unexpired warranty or service contract on the vehicle. Laws on warranties. Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act gives customers a warranty more equal to that of the seller. The Magnuson-Moss law and subsequent regulations do not require that a manufacturer offer a guarantee, but a manufacturer does offer a written warranty. It must comply with various standards. Basically, the law demands that a warranty should meet what it says and that the details should be spelled out in easy understanding language. Therefore, products claiming a money-back guarantee, suggesting that they are fully guaranteed or promising satisfactory guarantee or your money back, should do what it is promised. The warranty should be spelled for any consumer to understand and to be specific of the warranty that they are getting. They should also include a step-by-step on how to settle a dispute between the buyer and the seller. When the product is stated sold as is, then the seller takes no responsibility to what may happen to the product once it is bought. Laws on housing. Renter security deposit. A landlord cannot collect more than 1 or 2 months' rent for deposit. Security deposit must be returned within 30 days after the tenancy ends. The rental unit must meet a legally prescribed minimum standard: running water, functional toilets, heat during winter months, and a working stove. There is also a Community Reimbursement Act. This act requires that banking institutions help meet the credit needs of their communities, especially low and moderate income neighborhoods. The Federal Revenue Board assists the institution records of meeting those credit needs by preparing an evaluation of the institution along with the assessment of a concluding CRA rating, supported with the facts. Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, sex, religion, disability, familial status, and national origin in the financing of housing. For example, it is illegal to discriminate against families with children when renting or selling a house or an apartment. The Justice Department can ask for compensatory monetary damages for persons victimized, and access civil penalties. Laws on credit. Limited liability on credit cards. If a credit card is lost or stolen, it had the maximum liability of $50 per card. Electronic Funds Transfer Act permits you to stop a pre-authorized payment by calling at least 3 days before the payment date. This act applies to electronic transfer, ATM debit cards, and credit cards used as debit cards. Rules specify that a valid card can be sent only to a consumer who has requested it. Unsolicited cards can be issued only if the card cannot be used until validated and the user is informed of liability for unauthorized use as well as other terms and conditions. The sooner you report the lost or stolen electronic funds transfers card, the more likely you limit your liability. If the card is used without your permission, the cardholders are liable for only the first $50 if they notify the issuing company within 2 business days of the lost card. Automatic billing disputes is allowed within 15 days of the unauthorized transaction. It is then that the bank's responsibility to prove the validity of the charge or reverse the debit. However, there are no protections for consumers for paper debits. Alternatively, if you permit charges to a credit card, you have the protections of the Fair Credit Billing Act. That allows consumers to dispute an unauthorized charge up to 60 days after it occurred. The bank automatic withdrawal has a tracking number. The description with the company name and the number is found on the transaction statement. The Identify Theft Law allows you to report a 90-day once-call fraud alert if you suspect your identity has been stolen. You also have the right for a free credit report once a year to see if your credit is being used from someone else. A credit report is a document that displays information about an individual's personal credit history. It is the single most important piece of information creditors consider when determining whether or not to grant credit to an individual, and if so, how much to give. It is also used to help creditors decide the interest rate that will be charged. Such files are compiled by credit bureaus or credit reporting agencies, and they are used by lenders, employers, and others who have a need to know about someone's credit history and reliability. You always have the right to know the contents of your credit file, and you may obtain a copy of your credit file for a small fee of $8. Fair Credit Billing Act went into effect in 1975, and it protects against billing errors. Consumers may not be responsible for a charge on their credit card account if it's an error was not made by the person authorized if goods are unsatisfactory. This is when you will file a dispute. A dispute is a charge and temporary withhold payment for the charge while the credit card company investigates for a number of reasons. 1. Something you did not buy. 2. Something purchased by an unauthorized person. 3. Something not properly identified on the bill. 4. An amount different from the actual price. 5. Something not accepted on delivery. 6. Something that was not delivered according to the agreement. 7. Arithmetic errors. 8. Failure to reflect a payment or a credit. 9. Failure to mail the billing statement to the current address. 10. Any item from which a consumer requests additional clarification. Direct mail credit application must reveal the annual percentage rate of the interest and the way that it's calculated, the method used to calculate the monthly account balances, all fees included annual fees and transaction charges, the length of time of grace period. Thank you for watching this video. I hope these laws were useful for you. These were some consumer laws that we should be aware of to be informed when buying something. Let's be responsible buyers. Thank you.